A series of unfortunate events befell Severin Fewlett and led him to a 5-year prison sentence. But by the time he was released, he had acquired wisdom from the teachings of a savant. Once Severin stepped back into society, he was prepared to give his all for his fiancée. But she had cheated on him and married an assaulter. Unbeknownst to him, the president of a certain company, a beauty in the finest, had given birth to his adorable baby daughter in secret. She had waited 5 insufferable years for him, and so thus began Severin's most daunting challenge yet, becoming a father. Chapter 1. The North Pole prison was located in, as its name suggests, the North Pole, specifically the northernmost part of the North Pole. It was situated more than 500 meters beneath the Earth's surface, and it was there that the world's most vicious and well-known criminals were imprisoned. It was a prison that no one in history succeeded in escaping from. At that moment, an elevator had risen to the Earth's surface from beneath. The elevator door opened slowly, and a man with a scruffy-looking face stepped out from inside. "Congratulations on being released from prison," a burly man said in a coarse voice. He was in charge of guarding the place. A bodacious middle-aged woman looked solemnly at the prisoner who had just stepped out of the elevator and said, "You'll be a free man after stepping out of that gate over there." Severin Fewlett, fresh out of prison, glanced at the door in front of him with mixed emotions. "I could have left this place whenever I wanted." The middle-aged woman's red lips parted lightly, but she did not say a single word. After all, she could not refute what he had said. The multitude of evil people imprisoned beneath them included well-known secret agents, warlords, and even the leaders of several huge underworld organizations, yet all had been subdued by Severin. All those individuals were nothing to him. There was war in the country of Dracodom 3 years ago, and it was an uphill task for the kingdom to resist the foreign powers that invaded it. Eventually, the kingdom's officials decided to send 4 young people to receive tutelage from Severin. He taught them for only half a year and sent them back as full-fledged warriors who turned the tide of the war almost instantly. Their achievement then earned them recognition as Dracodom's renowned war heroes. When Severin reached the gate, he stopped, turned around, and glanced intently at the tall castle-like building behind him. He then knelt down and kowtowed 3 times. "Old wacko, I'll be leaving this place now. Thank you for taking care of me the past 5 years." Emotions began welling up inside of Severin. When he was first sent to that prison, he witnessed how a gray-haired old man was bullied and withheld from having any food. Severin then willingly decided to share half of his food to the man. Everyone in prison called the old man a wacko because he was constantly mumbling about achieving immortality. Many ignored him, and some even abused him verbally, yet the old wacko seemed rather nonchalant about the whole thing. Severin was the only one who chatted with him every day, prompting the others to call Severin Little Wacko. Later, Severin discovered that the old wacko was actually an erudite savant, and the latter passed down all his knowledge to Severin. The day that Severin left the prison was also the day the old wacko left, but their destinations were completely different. The thick steel gate closed behind Severin as he walked out. "Greetings, master." 2 middle-aged men, an old man, and a middle-aged woman all knelt down together. The jaws of all Dracodom's upper-class individuals would almost certainly drop to ground if they were to see the respect that those 4 people accorded to Severin. After all, they were none other than the 4 war heroes who had just helped Dracodom win the war. Severin frowned when he saw them. "Why are you folks here?" The 4 of them stood up, and the old man cupped his hands respectfully before answering, "We, as disciples, are obliged to welcome our master upon his release from prison." "I take it you're all doing well?" Severin asked curtly as he glanced at their medals. "Master, we've been acknowledged as the 4 great war heroes of Dracodom. It's not just power and glory that we've acquired. We have our own territories too." The middle-aged woman explained to him the achievement that she and the others have made. It was obvious that she was quite proud of herself. However, Severin replied without much expression, "Glad you didn't tarnish my reputation." The 4 of them were secretly delighted, for it was not easy to get a compliment from Severin. "Master, here's a Supreme VIP card. It has an overdraw of 1.5 billion. The card is yours, so use it as and when you like. I'll top up the account whenever you spend any money." The middle-aged woman handed over a bank card with a smile on her face. A middle-aged man then asked, "Would you like a position? I can give you a territory so you can rule on a small scale." Next, the old man said, "My granddaughter is a beautiful woman, master. Perhaps you'd be interested to meet her." Finally, the middle-aged man suggested, "The province of Middlebridge still lacks a ruler, master. Why don't you have a look at the place and see if you're keen?" Severin, however, shook his head in disappointment. "All I want is for none of you to pester me. I'd like to spend my days in peace with my parents and Lucy. Thank you very much. I've been meaning to make it up to them for my past mistake. I don't even know if they're doing all right now. Won't you at least accept this card even if you don't want anything else?" The middle-aged woman looked anxiously at Severin. All 4 of them had received wealth and power courtesy of Severin. It was only natural, then, that they hoped to give him something in return. "Give me a cell phone and leave your contact information in it. I'll pay you guys a visit once I have the time." Severin smiled faintly and touched a minimalistic-looking ring on his finger. That was all he had left to remember the old wacko by. "I'll give you a phone." "Thank goodness I brought one with me." The middle-aged man immediately took out a new cell phone and handed it to Severin. "Our phone numbers are all in there." Severin nodded. "Do you have a smoke?" The middle-aged man immediately took out a pack of cigarettes and handed them respectfully to Severin. After lighting the cigarette and taking a big puff, he said with the utmost appreciation, "Thank you all. Don't you worry about me though. I am your master, after all, so I'm more than capable of surviving on my own. Besides, I've already reached that level of attainment." "Did you just say that level?" The 4 of them exchanged shocked looks at each other. "Could you bring me to the city of Bruteborn before nightfall?" Severin asked. "Sure thing." All 4 of them replied at once. As the sun was about to set, Severin had already appeared at the gate of Bruteborn. "Are you sure there's nothing else you want, master?" The middle-aged man seemed determined to convince Severin. Severin smiled at him and looked at the familiar city before him. "You guys should go, or else you'll all be making the headlines if someone recognizes you." The 4 war heroes nodded, then immediately turned and walked toward the helicopter they came in. Before long, Severin had reached the entrance to a middle-end residential area. He walked in and proceeded to make his way to the door of a familiar house. He sighed as he looked at the nostalgic house number, for it was supposed to be his matrimonial home with his fiancée, Lucy Orwell. Severin was set up some years ago, after he got drunk and gambled away his money. When he lost, he was forced to stamp his fingerprint on a contract to hand Lucy over to a rich kid named Easton Locke. That night, Easton led Severin to the matrimonial home that Severin initially prepared for himself and Lucy. There, Easton planned to force himself on Lucy in front of Severin. It was Lucy's anguished screams that sparked a brief moment of sobriety in Severin, prompting him to smash a beer bottle right over Easton's head. The Luffs was rich and well-connected, so they were able to send him straight to prison. They also made sure to let him know that the Luffs could tap into their connections to ensure that Severin would be imprisoned for 10 years. Severin's only consolation was Lucy promised to wait for his release so she could become his bride. I bet you'll be pleasantly surprised to see me after my early release. Severin reached out to open the door, but it was not completely closed, and a little push was all it took to open it. He thought to himself, the door's ajar, so Mom, Dad, and Lucy are probably all home. No, don't be naughty. When Severin came to the door of the master bedroom, he heard Lucy's familiar voice. What's going on here? Severin's heart tightened, and he suddenly felt an ache in his heart. He kicked open the door with a bam and glared at two people on the bed. Chapter 2. The loud bang startled the amorous couple on the bed. The man hurriedly covered himself with a blanket, while the woman turned pale with fright and pulled another blanket to cover herself. Who are you? Some beggar from the street. Easton froze when he saw Severin in tattered clothes. You said you'd wait 10 years for me, but it's only been 5 years and you're already. Severin clenched his fist so tightly that there was a crackling sound from his joints. The blood that surged up to his brain due to anger made his forehead veins throb, and he looked exceedingly ferocious right then. Severin, Lucy exclaimed in disbelief after getting a good look at him. You're back? How? Severin felt his heart convulse violently as a faint self-mocking grin appeared on his lips. You ended up with this bastard now? Of all the people you could have chosen to be with, did it have to be him? Easton's confidence returned a bit more after seeing that the intruder was Severin. While putting on his clothes and pants, he said, you got a problem with that? Are you saying that I'm not good enough for her? I've got money and power, so isn't it obvious that I'm better than some loser in hobo's clothes? Severin ignored Easton completely. Instead, his bloodshot eyes were staring firmly at Lucy. Haha, isn't it funny? I came back to you as soon as I've reached that level because my plan was to give my whole world to you. I wanted to make you the happiest woman in the world, but here you are, sleeping with the man who forced himself on you all those years ago. Severin then paused for a moment and continued.